I'm Cesar Guzman. I've been going to Westbrook going on 13 years now. My journey to Christ has been kind of windy and long. Grew up in Chicago on the South Side, and no dad, no father figure in my life. I just, turned to the streets. They became a kind of like an extended family. My mom shipped me away, one-way ticket to California. I lived with my aunt. So I finished high school out there in California. I came back to the streets. I think I got to the point where every day was like a joke. And I remember leaving my house every day, not knowing whether I was going to live, and it didn't bother me. Slowly but surely, I think what happened was that I started to realize that my friends really weren't my friends, and that the people that I was surrounded by really didn't care for me. And so I kind of walked away from it. I remember the day I met Yessie. I met her at a cotillion, and my younger brother had introduced me to her. Our first date, we took her to Buckingham Fountain. We went on the boat ride, and I remember, it's funny because all she remembers is the fact that just before we got on the boat ride, there was a man selling flowers, and not wanting to buy the flowers, I asked her if she wanted flowers, and she said no. She kind of shook her head reluctantly, and she's like, later on she told me, you don't ask a woman if she wants flowers, you just buy them. I realized that this is the woman that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. We dated until we got married in '97, July '97. I was working at the railroad at the time, and I was always gone. I remember always being gone. When a man and a woman resent one another, that if it goes on long enough, that you just start to develop, hate, I think, in your heart for that person. And I think I got to the point where I really, I hated my wife, and I just didn't like being around her. And then after my daughter Brianna was born, I had a desire for something more. And so I asked my wife, I remember bugging her for quite a while, like, hey, I think we should go to church. She said, yeah, fine, find one. So we walked in, it was dark, and we sat over on the left-hand side of the church. And it was the three of us, Yessie, Brianna was in the carriage, and me. And I sat next to an older gentleman, and toward the end of the service, he spoke to me, and he asked me if I'd ever been there before, and I thought to myself, wow, they speak here. Well, I was sitting at Westbrook one day. Pastor Mount was talking about he was reading out of the book of 1 Corinthians, and he read about how if the resurrection isn't true, then we of all people, meaning Christians, of all people, are in all the world the most to be pitied. And Pastor Mott had known me, but he really hadn't known my story. And I started to tell him my story and all the things I had been through. And I remember going up to my room that evening, not being able to sleep. And I stared at the ceiling till 4 in the morning. And I just remembered how God had saved me. He saved me from the streets. He had saved me from going to jail. He had saved me from ending up in the coffin. And I just wondered why. You always hear in church how God loves you. But it was hard for me to accept. I says, Lord, how could you love me when all my life I've been against you? And I just lay there, thankful that he has saved me. thankful that he had a plan for me and that he realized it. And I think most of all, I was thankful that he loved me.